Hey everyone, before I begin with this tutorial, I just want to let you know that I finally launched the new iceflowstudios.com. It's been a few years since I actually did anything with that domain name, but it's finally live and it's going to be awesome. Now, what's the difference between my YouTube channel and iceflowstudios.com? Well, first of all, I'm going to be releasing exclusive tutorials specific to iceflowstudios.com. I'm going to be doing Photoshop tutorials. I'm also going to have some people do Dreamweaver and After Effects and all these different applications that I'm not focusing on right now. I'm also going to be releasing written tutorials. I know there's a lot of people out there, and sometimes I'm one of them, who like to scroll down a page and just read about the tutorial or see the images right in their face. They don't have to sit through a 5 or 10, 15-minute video. They just want to sit there, read it, and follow along with the steps. So I'm definitely going to be doing that, and I'm going to be trying to release a daily tip. Every single day, I'm going to be releasing a new Photoshop tip. It may be something that you might not even thought of, how to fix something that's a common problem in Photoshop, or I'll go over a very simple method on creating a button or some design you can use for your website, something like that. So definitely check out iceflowstudios.com. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter and all those fun things so you can be kept up to date on what we do with that website, because it's going to evolve very quickly. Alright, so let's begin with the first tutorial for iceflowstudios.com. So to celebrate the launch of the new iceflowstudios.com, we're going to power things up with a shiny carbon fiber power button. We're going to begin by creating the basic shapes of this design, and then we're going to focus on making it look pretty a little bit later on. Go ahead and grab your ellipse tool from the tools panel on the left-hand side and drag out a perfect circle. You can do this by holding down your shift key on your keyboard and place it in the middle of your document. Make sure you leave a little bit of room on the sides for our border, which we're going to add towards the end. Now, continuing with your ellipse tool, create another perfect circle inside the larger circle. It'd be best if you choose a different color so we can kind of see the difference in the shapes. Now what we need to do, we need to punch a hole in the center of the smaller circle so that we're only left with a donut-looking shape. With your ellipse tool still selected, at the top on your options bar, make sure the Subtract from Shape Area button is punched in. And then drag out another perfect circle inside the smaller circle. You following me? Now, while you're dragging out that circle, you can hold down your spacebar to move that circle around before you let go of your mouse. And this is what you should be left with, something that resembles a donut. Now what we need to do, we need to remove a section at the top of this smaller circle, or donut, and create a diagonal edge. To do this, grab your rectangle tool, which is in the same flyout menu as your ellipse tool, right over here on the left, and make sure to choose the same Subtract from Shape Area button on your options bar. Now go ahead and drag out the area you want to remove from the top of the smaller circle. If all goes well, you should have a rectangle missing from your circle. Now if you're okay with vertical edges, you can skip this next step, but to give this shape a little bit of style, I'm going to adjust the shape a little bit. Grab the Direct Selection tool from your Tools panel, and then click on your current donut shape. You should see the different paths that make up this donut, including the paths of the subtracted shapes. Clicking on the rectangle should show you the anchor points that make up this shape. This will allow us to move those points and in return change the direction of the edges. Go ahead and start by moving the top points, and you can do this by selecting the one at the top left and using your left arrow key to move it to the left. Now if you want to move it even more to the left, hold down your shift key while you're doing that. Now do the same thing for the top right anchor point. Once you've done the top two, we're going to go to the bottom two and move those inwards, just like this. Good. Now that shape is complete. The next shape is quite simple. It's simply a rounded rectangle, which again is found with all your other shapes. Make sure that before you start dragging the shape that you switch back to the Create New Shape Layer button on your options bar. And then choose a nice large radius value, I'd say around 30. Once that's set, go ahead and drag out the shape in between the donut. You can always move it around later on if you're not happy with the position. The last shape that we're going to create will be the border or rim around this design. To do this, grab your ellipse tool once again from the left-hand side and create a new circle that's a bit bigger than your current shape. Once that new circle is in place, keep the ellipse tool selected and choose the Subtract from Shape Area button at the top on your options bar, and drag out another circle to punch a hole in the middle, just like we did for the smaller donut. You should be left with a nice rim around your design. Good, so now that we have our design mapped out, let's start making it look pretty. Let's start with the object in the far back, that big circle. Once you have your layer selected, let's hop into our layer styles. You can either double click on your layer in the layers panel or head up to Layer, Layer Styles, and we're going to start with a gradient overlay. We're only going to add a gradient overlay to this layer. The gradient for this layer is going to be very simple. The left color is going to be a nice bright green. I'm going to use the value 7B AE32, and the right color is going to be an almost pitch black. Once the colors are in place, change the style to radial and the angle to 90 degrees, and then decrease the scale to 95%. And that should do it for this layer. Let's move on to the smaller donut shape. We're going to add quite a few more layer styles to this shape, starting with a color overlay. For this layer, we want a much more vibrant green. I'm going to use the value 79ED1C. You're free to use any color that you wish, but at the end of this tutorial, I'm going to show you a way to shift all the colors at once in this design if you want to. Now let's hop into our bevel and emboss. Changing the style to emboss, the direction to down, and the size to 10 will give our shape an indented look to it. The angle could be kept the same, but change the glass contour to ring, which will give us a really nice stylized border on the emboss. For the highlight mode, switch it to overlay, and then decrease the opacity to 65%. And then down below, simply decrease the opacity of the shadow mode to 20%. Good. Now let's move on and add an inner glow. This will make our object shine. Because we want it pretty overpowering, change the blend mode to linear dodge and increase the opacity to 90%. I also want to choose a color similar to the color I chose for the color overlay. I'm going to be using 96FF6D. Now down below, make sure that the source of the glow is coming from the center of the object, and then crank the size up to 27. To add some more glow, let's go ahead and add an outer glow. Again, change the blend mode to linear dodge, the opacity to 60%, and the color will be set to 9FFF4A. Now increase the size of the glow to 20. The last style we're going to be adding is an inner shadow. This will give our shape some additional depth. Change the blend mode to linear burn, the opacity to 20%, the angle to 90%, the distance to 10, and the size to 0. And that should do it for this layer. Now the nice thing is, because our rounded rectangle should have the same layer styles, I can simply right-click on my small donut layer, choose Copy Layer Styles, and then right-click on my rounded rectangle and paste the same styles on that layer. Now our final shape will be a two-parter. The first part will be the layer styles, and then the second part we will apply the carbon fiber pattern. Go ahead and open your layer styles of the larger donut layer, and let's start with the gradient overlay. On the right side, I'm going to use a near pitch black color, and then on the left side, I'm going to use somewhat of a neutral gray, 939393. One important step is to shift the transition point. If you click on your left color, you may see a small diamond in the middle. Go ahead and shift this to around 80%. Once you press OK, change the style to radial. Next will be an inner glow. This will give a nice highlight on the inside of our donut. Change the blend mode to overlay and then choose a very light green, more towards the whites. And that should be all you need to change for this inner glow. Now that the styles are applied, it may not look great right now, but wait till you see what it looks like when we add our pattern. The pattern I'm going to be using I found over at premiumpixels.com. It was completely free, and you can load it directly into Photoshop and use it in any way you wish. But you can use any image of carbon fiber if you wish as well. Go ahead and create a new layer in your Layers panel, and then grab your Paint Bucket tool from the Tools panel. Now if you've downloaded a pattern that you wish to use, switch Foreground to Pattern on your options bar. Now instead of filling the entire document with this pattern, we only want to fill the large donut. To do this, hold down your Command key on your Mac or Control key on your PC and click on the thumbnail of the large donuts layer to create a selection. And now you can use the Paint Bucket tool to fill only that area. Deselect that selection by using the Command or Control D shortcut key. Now obviously it looks way too fake right now. We need to blend it with our previous layer. In the Layers panel, change the blend mode of the newly created carbon fiber layer to Soft Light. And that's looking a lot better. Now from here, you're free to add any additional shiny elements to your design if you wish, but that about concludes this tutorial. If you're looking to change the color of your design, you can either go back into all the gradient and color overlays and change all the colors manually, or you can simply add a hue and saturation adjustment layer at the top of your stack and change the hue value. I can make it blue if I want, I can make it purple or keep it green. You can make it any color you want just by shifting the hue value. And there you go. I'm sure you can find some use for a button like this. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want the written version of this tutorial, check out iceflowstudios.com. Take care.